What's up everybody, Dan from Headwaters Kayak. Behind me, I've got the new Bonafide RVR 119. I thought it'd be fun to get back to the olden days where we just kind of hung out, talked boats. I've been going over some of my older YouTube videos and we did a lot more of just talking about the boat that was in the stand. So that's what I'm gonna do today. I'm gonna show you guys the Bonafide RVR, talk about all the little minutia details that Hans put into this boat. Hopefully give you some insight onto why this is such a really cool boat. So when you look at this kayak, it just screams unique. It's unlike any other kayak that I've ever seen. The profile, the lines, just all the features of it is very unique to Bonafide. And I watched Hans's video from Bonafide, the designer of this boat, and he goes into a lot of details. So I'm gonna just sort of echo a lot of those details, but I'm also gonna try to put my own unique perspective on here as somebody who's spent a lot of time on rivers, a lot of time paddling different boats, and a lot of time fishing as well. The first thing we have to talk about is the volume and where they decided to put volume, because volume really makes a boat handle differently for different types of waters. The boat you want in flat water is not gonna look like the boat you want in a river, and that's not gonna look like the boat you want in the ocean. They're all different types of water, and so you'll notice different designs. And the RVR is definitely a river boat. You can see how high the volume is. It's up above the waterline, a ton of buoyancy, so when this thing hits waves, it wants to ride up and over the waves. It's got a lot of rocker in the front, and then a lot of rocker and volume in the stern. Just like a drift boat would have, or a raft. You know, they have those upswept ends. It's no different here. The center of the cockpit's a little lower strung, so it's still easy to get on and off. It's easy to land fish in. And the actual entire profile of the boat is pretty rockered, which means bow to stern is sort of shaped like a banana. And that's gonna give this boat incredible maneuverability, but it's not gonna have the best tracking because it is for the river. One of the cool things that they did, I've never seen on another river fishing boat, is they added a retractable skag. I'm a huge fan of skags. I see it on a lot of different kayaks, and I think they're a huge help. If you want a boat that tracks well but still has maneuverability, it's just a simple thing, spring loaded, and then that pops out of the bottom of the boat and gives you that tracking you need. And as someone who has spent my whole life using skags on kayaks, it was sort of like, finally, you get the best of both worlds. There's no real drawback to it. The skag drops down, locks the stern in, the boat goes where you tell it to go. Other unique things as we're looking at the hull is look at how flat the bow is on it. They purposely designed that to beach. So if you're like fishing shoals or shallow water, it's got a nice flat spot that you can pull up on the beach, and as you stand up, it's gonna weight and gives you a nice even place to stand in. It's also gonna create a surface area that when you hit oncoming water, that bow is gonna wanna rise up out of the water. Sharp entry up here, but it immediately goes into a lot of volume. So as you're going through wave trains, that bow is gonna ride right up over them. Figured since we're talking about it, let's just flip it over and have a complete look at it. You see it's got this little tracking groove that runs the center of the hull, but overall it's a pretty flat hull design, which means it's gonna spin real easy on top of the water. It carries that buoyancy so far into the bow. Again, just a small sharp entry and then immediately into volume. So this isn't gonna be a fast boat. This is gonna be a boat meant to drift with the river. You could still use it on flat water. It's just not gonna be very fast. That's not what it was built for. It was built for accessing skinny waters in tight places and floating with the current. Another cool thing is that it was meant to be motorized. They've got a plate back here that you can set up with a torpedo motor, and then it's already pre-ready if you wanted to add a couple of inserts here. Run up to the foot pedals. You could do a foot controlled steering if you had like a torpedo or something like that. And that would be real similar to that Coosa I just checked out. I checked out that Coosa X with the torpedo on it on the river, and that thing was an absolute blast. If you haven't checked out that video, you should go do that. I would love to get a comparison of this and a Coosa X side by side, but unfortunately, I had to give the Coosa X back. I might be able to get a Shoalie next to it though, which is similar boat, just a completely different thought process behind it. Let's just start at the front. We'll work towards our back. It's got the same Bonafide handle like you used to see on the 127, 107. This is really unique. They do an anchor system. It goes right in here. You've got a tube that runs into the boat. One thing I noticed is it doesn't seem like it's super watertight. There's no sealant around there, so might be a potential leak point. But it's a little roller, so your anchor can hang right out here, and then internally ran right back to here, and then you can mount your anchor wizard right on this replaceable plate, which is very cool. They do the same thing on this side, and that one just runs right out here to the back. So you could run either an anchor, or a lot of guys are using a drift chain. Here on the Sacramento River in California, they might want to rig up a pyramid style anchor or something that's a little bit more substantial to hold them in place. But lots of different options there. You can also just do a plate that covers the entire back, which I know some guys do. On the front and the back, they do an access plate, which I think is a really smart thing. If you want to get to the inside, this gives you easy access throughout the boat. Just like on the 127, they have this little, it's a paddle park, but it also doubles as a place for your rods to kind of stage. And then this is really cool. You can set your rods down in here for transport, Velcro them down, and then the butts of the rods, can fit either right in here for staging or right back there for transport in the bed of your truck, which is a very cool situation. The other thing is this is solid enough that you can use this as a pickup point if you want to drag your kayak or lift it, or if you're trying to get it in the bed of your truck. You know, you always need a good spot to tug on your kayak. You also have a big well up here if you wanted to bring a cooler, dog, kid. You know, I love having that extra space, and I love how upswept it is, so it's going to stay nice and dry. And the cool thing about this profile is it's tapered down, so if water does come in here, it's going to instantly want to drain out to these 6 scupper plugs throughout the kayak, giving you a nice dry ride. Other things that are going to look familiar in the boat is this guy right here. This is the same pod like we're used to seeing on the 127. Very familiar. This is a fairly watertight situation, if my memory serves me correctly. It also can be popped all the way out. If you want to use this thing for a sonar pod, you can mount your transducer right there on the bottom. I know what you're thinking, is that the same old dog from the shop? Yep, that's Daxie Boy, still kicking. They do a really nice foot pedals. These things are just like CNC'd aluminum, beautiful works of art. They also have the Yak Attack top-loading gear track on either side, as well as in the center here. Nice padded flooring throughout the boat, as well as on the foot pedals. So soft cushion everywhere where you're going to be touching inside your boat, including this right here, which is really unique. This is for a catch board. So for measuring your fish, you can lay that across there. And if you notice, it's real subtle, but this side is shallower than this side. So the nose of the fish automatically wants to go downhill. Easy to measure. A lot of detail and thought went into this boat. And that goes with all the Bonafide kayaks. I've always just really been a fan for how much thought they put into the boat. Another plate right here. Again, if you want to add things to your boat, but you don't want to drill holes, you've got a mounting plate right here as well. It's got an adjustable trim seat, which usually you only see that on pedal drive. So I thought that was pretty cool that they would put that in a river fishing boat. Because if you have, let's say, a motor and a battery back here, well, that's going to add more weight to the stern so you can rock this thing forward. If you have an anchor up in the front but not off the back, you can slide yourself back and trim yourself into the boat. So a lot of versatility in options here. They use the same handles, which are low profile. They work really well. My hands don't get pinched when I'm moving it around. The whole boat is like just 80 something pounds. So it's really not too bad, especially for how well it seems to be built. Back here in the tank rail, you see a big roomy tank rail. It can hold a 16 by 16 black pack with rod holders on either side. You've got this compartment right here that you can put an additional tackle box, or what I hope to do is put my Torqeedo motor and then rig up the motor off the back. I think this thing will be an absolute blast with the motor on it on the Sacramento River here in town. You've got additional tie down points if you wanted to add more bungee or strap more stuff down. Huge tank well area. Love the idea of doing like a little overnight camping trip in this thing, a little fishing adventure. And then in the back, we've kind of already touched on it, but more mounting plates, more options, and then a huge stern handle spot for your anchor or your drag chain to hang down below the boat there. And then again, lots of volume up in the stern. So if waves do come over, or if you're running a rapid and you get water inside there, you get a lot of buoyancy in the back of this boat. It's going to keep it nice and stable. The other thing to notice that's really cool is the center point of the boat is right underneath your seat. In a lot of kayaks nowadays, the seat's moved backwards, and that helps lock in the stern. It helps it with tracking, gives you a little longer bow for piercing the water. But in the river, when maneuverability is a priority, you want that seat pretty centered up. And I like how they did that here. So I'm expecting this boat to be highly maneuverable, but it'll still have the retractable skag when I want to go straight. But ultimately, I'm going to get it on the water. I'm going to give you guys a detailed review. Hopefully I can hook up with Matt and maybe even do a little fishing so he can do some filming. Maybe he can paddle the Shoalie and I can paddle this and give you guys a comparison. So I'm sure there's a few details I left out, but I just wanted to kind of hang out in the garage for a minute, talk about this boat, because I've had it sitting around for a little while and I was like, it deserves to be on the channel. And eventually we'll get a nice video of it on the water, but this is just a quick introduction. If you guys have any more questions or anything I missed that you want to add, leave those in the comments below and I'll be checking back. Until next time, this is Dan wishing you happy paddling. We'll see you on the next one.